He was arrested 29 times, wrote 5 different books, and went by a different name for the first 5 years of his life. These are just 3 of the things we're going to be learning about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Let's get right to the biography. Martin Luther King Jr. was born Michael King Jr. on January 15th, 1929. He was the second of 3 children born to a Baptist minister and a woman with musical talent. When Michael King Jr. was just 5, he and his father, Michael King Sr., traveled to Germany. And Michael King Sr. was so inspired by the pastor Martin Luther that he decided to change both his name and his son's name to Martin Luther King. And that's how Martin Luther King Jr. got the name we're all familiar with today. Even after slavery had been made illegal in the U.S., many people were still very unhappy about this change. So, they decided to keep Black Americans and white Americans apart, which means they had to drink out of different fountains, go to different bathrooms, and go to different schools. The Supreme Court ruled that this was legal as long as things were separate but equal. This was the kind of world young Martin Luther King Jr. grew up in. When it came to education, Martin Luther King Jr. was really smart, and he skipped 2 grades and went to college when he was just 15 years old. He graduated college at the age of 19 with a degree in sociology. And he decided to follow his family's footsteps to become a Baptist minister. So, he decided to enroll in a seminary, where he got C's and C pluses in public speaking classes. But he eventually graduated as the top in his class. He kept working for his doctorate, and in 1954, he started working as a pastor in a church in Montgomery, Alabama. The previous year, that is 1953, Martin Luther King Jr. married a singer named Coretta Scott. In December of 1955, Rosa Parks famously refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man, and for that, she was arrested and spent the night in jail. Following this incident, Martin Luther King Jr., as well as other civil rights leaders, organized a boycott called the Montgomery Bus Boycott. This boycott lasted for over a year, and it caused bus companies to lose a lot of money. In December of 1956, the Supreme Court ruled that segregated buses were unconstitutional. This was a huge victory in the civil rights movement, and it proved that nonviolence can have a big impact. After his part in the Montgomery bus boycott, Martin Luther King Jr. was recognized nationwide. But still, there were people who didn't like him. He was arrested 29 times, his house was bombed, he was stabbed, and frequently threatened. But despite this, he never gave up. Between 1957 and 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. worked tirelessly to promote civil rights and equality for all. He traveled around the country giving several speeches, and this earned him respect and his very own personal meeting with President John F. Kennedy. On August 28, 1963, the March on Washington took place, and Martin Luther King Jr. took part in it, where he gave his most memorable "I Have a Dream" speech. Let's listen to it right now.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
That same year, Martin Luther King Jr. was awarded Time Magazine's Man of the Year, and in 1964, at the age of 35, he won the Nobel Peace Prize, making him the youngest man ever in history to do so. Also, in that same year, the Supreme Court ruled that it was illegal to discriminate people based on race, color, religion, sex, or national identity. On April 3rd, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. gave his last ever speech. Let's take a listen to a part of it.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
The next day, while standing at the balcony of his hotel room, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed. He was only 39 years old. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill creating a national holiday to celebrate the life and accomplishments of Martin Luther King Jr. As we all know, it is celebrated on the third Monday of every January. Now, I hope you enjoyed this biography about the great Martin Luther King Jr. See you next time!